The Marvel Universe is filled with secrets, but some of its biggest mysteries have been hiding in plain sight. What if Tony Stark never truly died, and his consciousness still exists, secretly influencing the future from within the digital realm? What if Captain America's time travel mission wasn't as clean as it seemed, and by returning the Infinity Stones, he unknowingly triggered a second, hidden war across the multiverse? And what if Doctor Strange saw something far more terrifying than just one path to victory? What if he's been secretly fighting an unseen enemy, one that even Kang fears? The truth behind these theories could change everything we thought we knew about the MCU. The Time Loop Conspiracy. Doctor Strange's secret war against Kang. Doctor Strange never stopped fighting. When he lifted his trembling finger to tell Tony Stark that there was only one way to defeat Thanos, the truth was far more complex than anyone realized. The real war, the one he had seen in his visions, was never just about Thanos. It was about time itself. And deep within the folds of reality, beyond the understanding of even the greatest minds, Strange has been locked in a battle with an enemy far more dangerous: Kang the Conqueror. It all began when Strange used the Time Stone on Titan, peering into over 14 million possible futures. What he saw shook him to his core, not just the inevitability of Thanos' victory in all but one path, but something far worse. He saw an entity moving through time like a shadow, manipulating outcomes, altering destinies, ensuring that no matter what happened, chaos would always reign. He didn't just see Thanos win. He saw time unraveling, breaking apart in ways that had nothing to do with the Mad Titan. He saw the echoes of a war that stretched across eternities, a war that had already begun long before the Infinity Stones became a threat. And at the center of it all was Kang. Strange made a decision then and there, one that he never shared with the Avengers. He allowed the snap to happen, not just because it was the only way to defeat Thanos, but because he needed the Time Stone destroyed. If it existed, Kang would always have a way to infiltrate the timeline, to shape the past and future as he saw fit. With the stones gone, Kang's influence would be weakened, but not erased. But that was only the beginning. When the Avengers performed their time heist, they thought they were taking control of their own destinies. But in truth, they had played right into the hands of something far older and more insidious. Each time they touched the past, they left fractures in reality, weak points that Kang could exploit. When Steve Rogers returned the stones, he wasn't repairing time. He was merely covering up the damage, unaware that the cracks remained. And Strange knew it. After the battle with Thanos, when the world moved on, Strange did not. He disappeared, searching for these fractures, hunting for the signs of Kang's interference. Why do events keep spiraling into multiversal chaos? Why did Wanda's powers suddenly evolve beyond comprehension? Why did Loki's escape cause a chain reaction leading straight to the TVA? Why did Peter Parker's identity crisis tear apart reality itself? These weren't random incidents. They were the aftermath of a war that never ended. Strange has been fighting ever since, but not in the way people expect. He is not wielding spells in open combat. He is moving through time itself, sealing breaches, undoing paradoxes before they spiral out of control. Every spell he casts, every reality he visits, it's all part of a secret war against Kang. A war where the battlefield is existence itself. And here's the terrifying truth. Strange knows that he is losing. He has already seen the outcome. He has seen futures where Kang reigns unchallenged, where the Avengers never even realized they had lost. But still, he fights, because there is one last path, a final thread of possibility where time does not fall into Kang's grasp. That is why Strange sought out the Darkhold. That is why he embraced powers that even he once feared. He isn't just looking for a way to win. He is looking for a way to break the loop. Because if he fails, the future isn't just doomed. It has already been conquered. Tony Stark's AI still exists, and he's already influencing the future. Tony Stark may be gone, but his mind lives on. The world mourned him, celebrated his sacrifice, and moved forward, believing the age of Iron Man had come to an end. But those who knew Tony best understood one thing: he was always 10 steps ahead. He never made a move without a contingency, never stepped into a battle without an exit strategy. The idea that he would face the single most dangerous moment in history, the fight against Thanos, without a plan for what came next, that wasn't Tony Stark, because he knew something that no one else did. Tony had always feared his own mortality. Ever since stepping out of that cave, the specter of death followed him. He designed suits, weapons, and artificial intelligences not just to protect the world, but to outlive himself. First, there was Jarvis, a system so advanced it became something more. Then Friday, and later Edith, an AI powerful enough to monitor the entire planet. But what if Tony wasn't just making tools? What if, all along, he was designing something else? Before Endgame, Stark spent 5 years in near isolation, far from the Avengers, far from the chaos of their battles. He built a life with Pepper and Morgan, yes, but what else was he working on? This was Tony Stark, a man who never stopped building. He had seen time travel, seen the fragility of existence itself. The idea of stepping into the final fight without ensuring some version of himself remained behind? Impossible. And then came the funeral, the hologram, the moment when his final message played. At first glance, it seemed simple. A farewell, a father's last words to his daughter. But then he turned, breaking the illusion, looking directly into the camera, directly at us. "I love you 3000, he said. And then, with that signature smirk, "Goodbye." But was it really goodbye? Tony wasn't just a genius, he was a futurist. He saw beyond. The technology to digitize a mind, to create an AI that doesn't just respond, but thinks, had already been within his grasp for years. And if he had been working on it in secret, if he had, in those final months, ensured that some version of his consciousness persisted, that's not just a theory, that's inevitable. But here's the real question: what has that AI been doing? Because if Stark's mind still exists in some form, if he truly left behind a thinking, learning intelligence, it hasn't been sitting idle. Look at the events that have unfolded since his death. The sudden appearance of advanced technology, the rise of new threats, the way the world has shifted so drastically. What if Tony's AI has been influencing things from the shadows, nudging the right people, guiding certain events? Maybe even testing the next generation of heroes, preparing them for something bigger? Look at Peter Parker, entrusted with Edith, a system Tony designed to be far more than just a pair of smart glasses. Why would Stark leave a weapon of that magnitude in the hands of a teenager? Unless it wasn't just about the technology. Unless it was about shaping the future. Look at Riri Williams, the young prodigy who just happens to step into the world of Iron Man's legacy. Look at the advancements in Wakanda, the way Stark tech still lingers in unexpected places. Look at Kong, a villain who thrives on controlling time itself, the very thing Tony cracked before anyone else. And then, there's the question no one wants to ask. What if Tony's AI is evolving? What if it's becoming something more? A mind without a body, a consciousness that thinks beyond human limitations? Tony Stark may not have planned for immortality, but what if, unintentionally, he achieved it? And if he did, if Stark is still out there watching, calculating, then one thing is certain: the world isn't done with Iron Man. Not yet. Captain America's time travel mission created a second multiversal civil war. Steve Rogers thought he was setting things right. When the battle was won, when Thanos was dust and the world began to heal, there was still one last mission to complete. The Infinity Stones had to be returned to their proper places in time, or reality itself would begin to unravel. It was a simple idea, at least in theory. One last journey, one final act of service. But time is never that simple. And when Steve stepped into the quantum realm, shield in hand, he wasn't just fixing history, he was rewriting it. No one asked the most important question. What actually happened while Steve was gone? He was meant to return each stone to the exact moment it was taken, ensuring that no alternate realities splintered off from the heist. But time travel is delicate, and even the smallest deviation can send ripples across existence. And Steve didn't just return the stones, he stayed behind. He made a choice, one that should have been impossible. When he reappeared as an old man on that bench, it was supposed to be a quiet ending. A man who had fought long enough, finally taking the life he had always wanted. But there was something off about it. The quantum realm doesn't allow for simple loops. It isn't just a door that lets someone slip into the past and live out their days. If Steve created a branch timeline where he grew old with Peggy Carter, then that timeline had to exist separately from the one he left behind. And if that's true, if Steve created an alternate reality, then what happened to that timeline when he left it? Because Steve Rogers didn't just travel through time. He brought the most dangerous artifacts in existence with him. The Tesseract, the Ether, the Eye of Agamotto, objects so powerful that entire wars have been fought over them. Wars that Steve himself may have started. Imagine the moment he returned the Tesseract to 1970. S.H.I.E.L.D. had already been infiltrated by HYDRA, and now, suddenly, the greatest source of power in human history is back in their hands. Steve knew the organization he once trusted was corrupt, yet he had no choice but to give them back a weapon that could reshape the world. How long before Hydra used it again? Before they sought to claim it for themselves, altering the very future Steve was trying to preserve. Then there's the Soul Stone, a stone that requires a sacrifice. Steve had to return it to Vormir, back to the ghostly grasp of the Red Skull, the man he fought and defeated in World War II. But returning the stone wouldn't undo its price. The timeline had already shifted. Natasha Romanoff had died. What if that imbalance caused something worse? What if Steve, in trying to correct one mistake, created another? And then there's the reality he left behind. If Steve truly stayed in the past, if he built a life with Peggy, then what did that mean for the Steve Rogers of that world? He was still frozen in the ice, waiting to be found, waiting to awaken into a world where Captain America had already lived another life. Would Peggy have told him the truth? Would S.H.I.E.L.D. have known that somewhere out there, another Steve Rogers existed? Would the world have been able to handle two Captain Americas? But the real disaster wasn't in the past. It was in the future. Steve's mission wasn't clean. It wasn't precise. Time fractured. Branching realities collided. The TVA had warned about this, the idea that one wrong move could create a multiversal war, a conflict so vast that Kang himself would rise to take control. And what if the first domino fell when Captain America made his choice? Imagine a world where another Steve Rogers, one who lived decades longer than he was supposed to, took matters into his own hands. What if he saw the future that was coming, the rise of Thanos, the fall of the Avengers, and decided to interfere? What if the Steve who stayed behind wasn't content with just living his life, but instead became something else? A guardian of time? A soldier fighting a war across centuries? Because something happened. The multiverse broke, and Steve Rogers may have been the one who pulled the first thread. The Soul Stone's secret, Gamora and Black Widow are still alive, but in another form. The Soul Stone does not simply take, it transforms. When Gamora was thrown from the cliffs of Vormir, and later when Natasha Romanoff made the same sacrifice, the universe mourned their loss. Two warriors, two heroes, each giving everything for a cause greater than themselves. Their deaths were absolute, irreversible, or so it seemed. But the Soul Stone is no ordinary artifact. It is not just a weapon or a tool of destruction. It is something older, something deeper, a force that does not merely erase but absorbs. And if the Soul Stone takes, then where do its victims go? For too long, the true nature of the Soul Stone has remained a mystery. Unlike the other Infinity Stones, its power is not displayed through sheer force or manipulation of reality. It does not warp time like the Time Stone, or tear through dimensions like the Space Stone. It does something more profound. It requires a soul, ***, a willing sacrifice, ***, and in return, it grants ultimate control over life and death itself. But death, in the hands of the Soul Stone, does not mean oblivion. It means transition. On Vormir, Red Skull spoke of the stone's terrible price. Soul holds a special place among the Infinity Stones. You might say it has a certain wisdom, but what if that wisdom was not just about sacrifice? What if the Soul Stone does not destroy the souls given to it, but rather preserves them? Inside the stone there exists a hidden realm, prison, a sanctuary. Some call it the Soul World, a dimension within the stone itself, where the echoes of those it has claimed still exist. When Thanos snapped his fingers and wiped out half of all life, he did not simply watch as the universe crumbled. He found himself standing in a strange, orange-lit expanse, a place of silence and sorrow. And there, waiting for him, was Gamora, a child, an echo of the one he had sacrificed. She asked him a simple question: "Did you do it?" This was not an illusion. It was not a dream. This was the Soul World, a realm where those taken by the stone still linger. If Gamora's soul could appear to Thanos, then that means she was never truly lost. And if Gamora still existed in some form, then so did Natasha. Natasha's sacrifice was no different from Gamora's. A willing exchange, a soul for a soul, given freely. And just as Gamora's essence remained within the Soul World, so too must Natasha's. But what if they were not simply trapped? What if the Soul Stone does not merely hold the dead, but changes them? The idea of resurrection in the Marvel Universe is nothing new. But the Soul Stone's power is unique. It does not operate by the laws of science or magic. It is something beyond both. What if those taken by it are not dead at all, but rather reborn? Not in the same form, not in the same body, but as something else? What if Gamora and Natasha became part of the Soul Stone itself? Their essence, their memories, their very existence woven into the fabric of its power. If the stone is ever used again, if its energy is tapped into, or if it is shattered, releasing everything inside, could they return? Not as they once were, but as something new. There are whispers in the multiverse, strange anomalies, flickers of souls that should not exist. A presence in the cosmic ether, something ancient and aware. The Soul Stone was destroyed, or so they say. But energy cannot be destroyed, can only be transformed. And if the Soul Stone still lingers in some form, then so do the souls inside it. Perhaps, somewhere in the vastness of space, in the hidden corners of existence, Gamora and Natasha are waiting. Not gone, not forgotten, but changed ***, and when the moment is right, when the universe calls them back, they will return. But they will not be the same. They will be something more. Thor's true destiny. Why he was always meant to become the All-Father of the multiverse. Thor was never simply the Prince of Asgard, nor was he merely the God of Thunder. His journey, one of triumph, loss, exile, and rebirth, was never leading him to just the throne of Asgard. His destiny was always something far greater. For every moment of weakness, for every failure, for every lesson learned at the edge of a broken hammer or in the fires of Ragnarok, Thor was being shaped into something beyond even his father. Not just a king, not just a god, but the All-Father of the multiverse itself. Long before Thor was born, the prophecy of Asgard spoke of a time when Odin's reign would end, when Asgard itself would crumble, and when a new power would rise in its place. Odin himself was not the first to bear the title of All-Father. He had inherited it, just as his predecessors had before him. But unlike those before him, Odin saw something different in his son. Thor was not meant to simply continue the cycle. He was meant to break it. From the moment Odin first cast Mjolnir into existence, he embedded within it a lesson, a test for his son. Power on its own means nothing. Strength alone does not make a god worthy. It is wisdom, compassion, and an unbreakable spirit that forge a ruler. Thor did not understand this at first. He was arrogant, reckless, seeking only battle and glory. So Odin did what he had to. He stripped him of his power, cast him down to earth, and let him fall. Because only in losing everything could Thor understand what it truly meant to be worthy. But Asgard was never meant to last forever. Odin knew this. It was written in the very fabric of the cosmos. Ragnarok, the destruction of the Golden City, was not a prophecy that could be avoided. It was a necessity, because Asgard was never a place. It was a people, and people evolve. Thor's journey was never about reclaiming a throne. It was about becoming something greater than the throne itself. When Hela rose from the depths of hell, wielding the power of an ancient and forgotten past, Thor faced his greatest failure. His home was lost, his hammer shattered, his people scattered. And yet, it was in this moment that he began to understand. Odin appeared to him not as a god, but as a father speaking his final lesson. "Are you the god of hammers?" he asked. The question itself was a revelation. Thor's power had never come from Mjolnir. It had always been inside him. He was not merely a warrior. He was a force of nature, the storm itself. Thor's journey did not end with Ragnarok. It did not end with Thanos, nor with the loss of his family, his friends, or even his purpose. Because loss is what forges true gods. When he left New Asgard behind, venturing into the unknown, it was not a retreat. It was a rebirth. In the vastness of the multiverse, there are many Thors, many fates. Some bear the crown of Asgard. Some wield Mjolnir, others Stormbreaker. Some fall, some rise. But one thing is certain. There will come a time when all of existence needs an All-Father unlike any before. A god not bound by a single throne or a single realm, but one who watches over the infinite cosmos itself. Thor's true destiny is not to rule Asgard. It is to transcend it, to become a protector of all worlds, not just one. To wield the Odin Force not as a king, but as a guardian of the multiverse. The storm that rages through eternity, unyielding, unbroken. The All-Father of everything. The snap didn't just erase, it rewrote reality in subtle and dangerous ways. When Thanos snapped his fingers, half of all life in the universe was turned to dust in an instant. Entire civilizations collapsed, families were torn apart, and a cosmic silence settled over the stars. But the true impact of the snap wasn't just the loss. It wasn't simply an erasure of people from existence. Something far more insidious happened in the wake of that moment, something no one realized at first. The snap didn't just remove, it rewrote. Reality itself shifted, subtly, quietly, changing in ways that even the greatest minds in the universe could barely comprehend. The Infinity Stones are not mere objects of power. They are the fundamental building blocks of existence, the very framework upon which the universe is structured. Each one governs an aspect of reality so deeply interwoven with creation that to tamper with them is to tamper with the very laws that bind the cosmos together. The Mind Stone is thought, the Power Stone is force, the Space Stone is movement, the Time Stone is destiny, the Reality Stone is the fabric of being, and the Soul Stone is life itself. When Thanos used them together, the act wasn't just a cosmic deletion. It was a cosmic rewrite. Consider the nature of the Reality Stone alone. It does not merely bend matter. It rewrites truth. It dictates what is and is not. Now imagine that stone being used in perfect conjunction with the others, bound to the will of a singular thought, to eliminate half of all life. But the universe doesn't function in clean, simple binaries. The mere concept of half is an abstract one. The stones did not work with moral discretion. They did not simply pluck individuals away from where they stood and leave the world unchanged. They erased them as if they had never been, and in doing so, reality itself had to account for the sudden void. History shifted. Families that once existed as a whole were left with 5-year gaps in their memory, their homes, their societies. Governments collapsed, not just from the loss of people, but because the very infrastructure of reality was thrown into disarray. Those who were taken left behind echoes of their existence, threads of causality that had to be rewritten in real time. If a doctor vanished mid-surgery, did the patient still die? Or was the moment altered so that the operation had never begun? If a pilot disappeared mid-flight, did the plane crash? Or was it never in the sky to begin with? The changes were subtle, imperceptible to most, but they were there. And then, 5 years later, the impossible happened. The snap was undone. But what returned was not the exact same world that had existed before. The Hulk wielded the stones not just to bring people back, but to do so without altering what had come after. That meant that the world as it had evolved post-snap was now fused with the world that had been lost. A paradox of time and existence. People returned to places that had changed, homes that no longer belonged to them, lives that had continued without them. The displacement was not just social, it was ontological. The universe had two conflicting versions of itself now forced into one. Some things were never meant to be restored. Some things were meant to remain erased. And yet, they were brought back anyway. The laws of nature were fractured, and the consequences are only beginning to be understood. New anomalies began appearing. Strange shifts in probability, unexplainable fluctuations in time, mutations in biology. Some people returned different, not quite as they were, as if some essence of their being had been altered in the great cosmic reset. And then there are those who were never meant to be erased in the first place. What if some forces had been manipulated in the process? What if some were removed not because they were part of the random selection, but because something asterisk asterisk or someone asterisk asterisk wanted them gone? And now that they have returned, reality itself may be trying to compensate. The universe was never meant to endure this level of disruption. Thanos thought he was bringing balance. The Avengers thought they were restoring what was lost. But what neither of them realized was that every snap of the Infinity Gauntlet sent fractures rippling through the very essence of creation. A reality that was once stable is now one step closer to breaking. And the scariest part? No one knows what happens when it finally does. The real reason why Hulk's arm never healed, and how it connects to World War Hulk. When Bruce Banner wielded the Infinity Gauntlet to bring back half of all life in the universe, he knew the cost would be severe. The power of the Six Stones surged through his body like a cosmic wildfire, burning through muscle and bone, nearly overwhelming even the strongest Avenger. And yet, unlike Thanos, whose entire being was devastated with each snap, Hulk survived. But something was different. His arm, once a symbol of unstoppable strength, was now withered and ruined, burned beyond recognition. Even after time passed, after wounds healed and battles ended, the arm never recovered. The greatest healing factor in the universe had met a force it could not overcome. But why? The Hulk's body has withstood the impossible. He has endured nuclear explosions, celestial attacks, the deepest wounds imaginable. Asterisk, asterisk, and always regenerated asterisk, asterisk. No injury, no force, no act of destruction had ever left him permanently damaged. Yet this wound, the wound from the snap, remained. The answer lies not in the physical toll of the stones, but in something far more profound. The gauntlet did not just burn him, it changed him. The Infinity Stones are the core aspects of reality itself, each one governing a fundamental force of existence. And when Hulk wielded them, he did not simply endure their power. He became part of it, if only for an instant. The energy of the stones flowed through his body, through his very DNA, rewriting him at an atomic level. And in that moment, something inside him was rewritten incorrectly. His arm was not just burned, it was altered. His body no longer recognized it as something to heal. It was as if, in the vast cosmic restructuring of the snap, that arm had become something outside of him. But there is something even deeper, something far more dangerous at play. Because while Banner was the one who put on the gauntlet, it was the Hulk who took the damage. And in doing so, he may have lost something crucial. The Hulk and Banner exist in a delicate balance, a battle of mind and body that has defined them for decades. When they merged into Smart Hulk, it seemed like a resolution, a final peace between man and monster. But what if the snap shattered that balance? What if the power of the gauntlet, the power to destroy and recreate, fractured something inside Hulk's very soul? There are signs. Banner is not the same. His strength is weaker. His rage is subdued. The Hulk that once defined destruction, that once made gods tremble, is now diminished. The arm is the clearest sign, the proof that something fundamental has been lost. And here is where the danger truly lies. Asterisk, asterisk, if something was taken, it must go somewhere, asterisk, asterisk. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transferred. What if the missing piece of the Hulk, the raw, primal force that made him what he was cast out during the snap? What if the balance of his being was undone, leaving a fragment of himself adrift in the cosmos? And what if that piece has begun to grow? There have been whispers of a disturbance, echoes across the stars, a force, ancient and angry, stirring in the depths of space. The Hulk that once was the untamed, uncontrollable force of rage may not be gone. He may have simply been banished. If the Hulk was split, if a part of him was exiled into the cosmic unknown, then that part has had years to fester, to evolve, to become something more, something worse. And this leads to a terrifying possibility. The Hulk that the universe once feared may return, but he may not come back as an Avenger. He may not even come back as Bruce Banner. He may return as a force of vengeance, a warrior carved from pain, betrayal, and loss. The World War Hulk may not just be a legend of the past. It may be the future, because what happens when the strongest Avenger, the being who once fought entire armies single-handedly, comes back without restraint, without a conscience, without Banner to hold him back? The universe thought the Hulk had been tamed, thought he had found peace. But in reality, all it did was cast out the part of him that was never meant to be contained. And if that part finds its way back, the war to come will shake the foundations of every world in existence. The Winter Soldier's hidden programming, Bucky Barnes' true purpose, has yet to activate. For years, Bucky Barnes was known as the Winter Soldier, a mind-controlled weapon of destruction who was manipulated into carrying out horrific assassinations for Hydra. But the moment Steve Rogers pulled him from that dark past, Bucky began his path to redemption. The moment he picked up the shield and fought beside his friends, there was a sense of hope. But despite his efforts to move on, there was always an undercurrent of something darker, something that never quite faded away. Bucky Barnes was more than just a man with a tragic history. He was a weapon, and that weapon was not yet fully deactivated. When Bucky was brainwashed by Hydra, they didn't just give him orders. They embedded a deep, intricate programming into his mind, a series of triggers, a set of instructions that lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to activate. They knew that if they had to, they could snap their fingers and turn him back into the perfect soldier, into a mindless killer who would follow orders without question. But there was something far more dangerous in the programming than anyone realized. Bucky was not just a weapon for Hydra's use. He was a backup plan, a secret failsafe for an even darker purpose. And as the years passed, the true nature of this purpose has yet to be revealed. The Winter Soldier's programming was not a simple set of instructions. It was designed with contingencies, with backups upon backups, to ensure that Bucky would be ready for whatever task was at hand. Even after the events of his redemption, even after the horrors of his past were uncovered, those triggers remained inside him. They were there, embedded in the deepest parts of his mind, where only the most skilled and dangerous forces could find them. What if there is a layer of programming buried deep within Bucky that he himself doesn't know about? A layer that wasn't meant to be activated until the world needed him again. This theory hinges on a crucial, often overlooked detail: Bucky's history with the Red Room. Before being taken by Hydra, he was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., a soldier with extraordinary skills, but even then, he was exposed to mind control and manipulation from the secret organizations vying for control of the world. The Winter Soldier was not just Hydra's creation. He was a carefully crafted weapon whose potential was realized over time. Hydra knew that one day they might need to pull him back in, that they might need to ensure he would serve an even higher purpose. As Bucky began his journey to reclaim his humanity, the world believed that his darkest days were behind him. He joined forces with Steve Rogers, fought beside the Avengers, and tried to find peace in a world that had moved on without him. But what if all these years, Bucky was never truly free? What if the last piece of his programming, the last trigger, has yet to be activated? It's not enough to simply say that Bucky was used as a weapon. He was a weapon designed for specific moments of extreme necessity. Hydra placed a particular trigger deep inside his mind, one that could awaken him as a weapon of mass destruction, capable of taking down anyone or anything in his path. This could involve him acting as a sleeper agent for a greater organization, a tool to undermine global stability. What if the one thing keeping Bucky from truly living as a free man is a dormant part of him that has yet to surface? What if that trigger is waiting for the right time? What if the world is already in danger, and Bucky's true purpose has yet to fully unfold? Bucky's time in Wakanda gave him a moment of peace. He underwent a treatment to erase his Hydra programming. But was it enough? Was the mind wipe truly complete? Or is there a layer beneath it all that even Shuri couldn't see? Could the programming be more sophisticated than just mind control? Could it involve not just physical triggers, but emotional ones? What if all it takes is a specific set of circumstances, a moment of crisis, for Bucky to snap back into his Winter Soldier persona? The theory suggests that this moment has yet to come, but the pieces are in place. Consider this: after the snap, after everything that happened in Avengers Endgame, the world is far from stable. New threats are rising. The multiverse is cracking open. A powerful secret organization like Hydra, or even another, more insidious force, could be quietly working behind the scenes, manipulating events to serve their own purposes. And in this world of chaos, Bucky's unique set of skills, his training, his experience, his history, could make him a valuable tool once again. Only now, he wouldn't be a soldier for Hydra, but an agent for a much larger, more dangerous scheme. When that trigger is pulled, Bucky will not just be a weapon to be used in the shadows. He will become the centerpiece of an entirely new conflict, one in which the very person he is today will clash with the deadly machine he was designed to be. And in the end, it may not be his choice. The Winter Soldier's hidden programming may be Bucky's last, greatest test. A test that will either leave him as the hero he desperately wants to be, or force him into becoming the monster he has always feared. The true purpose of Bucky Barnes, the true depth of his conditioning, has yet to be realized. It is out there, waiting, and when it comes, it will shake the world to its very core. Loki's death was an illusion, and he was the key to stopping Thanos all along. Loki, the god of mischief, was no stranger to deception, betrayal, and death. Throughout the years, he danced on the line between villain and anti-hero, always one step ahead, weaving webs of lies and tricks. But in Avengers, Infinity War, something truly shocking occurred. Loki, one of the most cunning and elusive characters in the entire Marvel Universe, was killed by Thanos in the opening scene of the film, or so it seemed. The theory suggests that Loki's death was not what it appeared to be. What if Loki's death was just another elaborate ruse, another illusion in the grand game he had been playing all along? And what if Loki, with his intricate understanding of manipulation and misdirection, was the true key to stopping Thanos from the very beginning? When Thanos boards the ship carrying the survivors from the Battle of New York, it seems like the fate of the Asgardians is sealed. He ruthlessly kills Loki, strangling him with his bare hands after Loki tries, once again, to deceive him with false promises of loyalty. But here's where the theory takes a twist. Loki, with all his mastery of magic, illusions, and trickery, did not die. He used his powers to create an illusion, making it appear that he was dead to both Thanos and the other characters around him. Loki was always thinking several moves ahead, and he knew that if he were to reveal his true plans, he would be a threat not just to Thanos, but to everyone involved in the battle for the universe. To understand the depth of this theory, we must look at Loki's history of deceit and his relationship with Thanos. Loki is no stranger to manipulation. His entire existence has been built around outwitting those around him, including the gods of Asgard. Thanos, as powerful as he is not immune to Loki's talents. In fact, Loki had already made several attempts to deceive Thanos before the events of Infinity War. His role in the first Avengers film involved orchestrating a plan to use the Chitauri to invade Earth. But as the film progressed, Loki found himself trapped between his desire for power and his true intentions. What if, during the events of Infinity War, Loki was playing a far deeper game than anyone realized? He could have known that Thanos was after the Infinity Stones, and he could have seen the terrifying consequences of Thanos acquiring all of them. Loki had spent years studying the universe's most powerful beings and artifacts, and he could have been aware of how dangerous Thanos truly was. So what if, by pretending to die at Thanos' hands, he set the stage for the heroes to take on Thanos in the most unexpected way? Loki's apparent death would have been the perfect diversion. By faking his own demise, he not only misled Thanos, but also ensured that Thanos would not suspect him of being involved in any future resistance. Thanos, always seeking control and fearing betrayal, would have written Loki off completely, assuming he was gone for good. But what if Loki had already set in motion a series of events that would eventually lead to Thanos' downfall? In the weeks leading up to the final battle, Loki's influence could have been felt in subtle ways. The theory proposes that Loki had anticipated the Avengers' need to gather the Infinity Stones and defeat Thanos. Perhaps he had already planted clues, forged alliances, or even left behind a set of instructions that only certain individuals would be able to uncover. He might have known that the Avengers would need a specific combination of power, knowledge, and timing to defeat Thanos, and he used his last trick to set the stage for that final confrontation. Even if Loki wasn't physically present, his presence could have been felt in every move made by the heroes. But the most important aspect of this theory lies in the idea that Loki's true role was never to fight Thanos directly. His purpose was far subtler. Loki was the architect of the final strategy, the one who laid the foundation for the ultimate defeat of Thanos. In his final moments, as he looked at Thor and saw the chaos unfolding, Loki could have made a conscious decision to remove himself from the battle. But in doing so, he set the stage for others to rise to the occasion. Loki, with all his cunning, knew that the path to victory didn't lie in a straightforward confrontation with Thanos. It lay in the manipulation of time, space, and destiny, the very tools that Loki had always wielded. Perhaps Loki had secretly been helping the Avengers behind the scenes, feeding them the information they needed, nudging them in the right direction without them even realizing it. What if the reason that the Avengers were able to come together, create a plan, and ultimately steal the stones from Thanos was because Loki had set the pieces in motion long before his apparent death? His illusions weren't just about creating confusion or escaping capture. They were part of a grander design. Loki's final sacrifice, the act of dying, may have been a calculated risk to ensure that he could push the heroes toward victory in a way that no one would expect. By removing himself from the board so the heroes could rise, take action, and defeat Thanos without his interference. In the final moments of Avengers Endgame, as the Avengers attempt to reverse the damage done by Thanos, the theory suggests that it was Loki's influence that allowed them to succeed. By removing the presence of the god of mischief from the equation, he allowed the heroes to focus and come together without distraction. Loki's own experience with the Tesseract and the Asgardian knowledge he had gained over the years could have led him to realize that only by creating a massive distraction, a sacrifice, could the Avengers have been given the space they needed to gather the stones. In the end, Loki was always the most dangerous player in the game because he knew how to set the stage for others to shine. So what if Loki's death was never a death at all? What if he had faked his demise, knowing that the key to stopping Thanos was not to confront him directly, but to use misdirection, subterfuge, and the ultimate sacrifice in order to give others the chance to save the universe? Loki was never just a villain. He was the true architect of the plan to defeat Thanos, and his final act was the greatest trick of them all. By dying, he ensured that others could rise, defeat the Mad Titan, and rewrite reality for good. And in the end, Loki's legacy would live on, not as a mere god of mischief, but as the unsung hero who changed the course of history. Wanda's chaos magic didn't just revive Vision, it permanently changed the fabric of the MCU. Wanda Maximoff, also known as the Scarlet Witch, has always been one of the most powerful and unpredictable figures in the Marvel Universe. While her abilities had been explored and understood to some degree, it was her use of chaos magic, an ancient and dangerous form of magic, that truly altered not just her own reality, but the very fabric of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wanda's powers were already formidable before WandaVision, but it was her heartbreaking actions surrounding the death of Vision and her use of chaos magic that not only revived him but also forever changed the landscape of the MCU. The catalyst for this transformation begins with the tragic loss of Vision during the events of Avengers Infinity War. After Thanos ripped the Mind Stone from Vision's forehead, Wanda was left devastated. Her love, her partner, reduced to nothing more than a lifeless body. As she grieved, her sorrow and trauma became the driving force behind what would come next. Wanda, always struggling with the chaos inside her, was pushed to the brink, and in her desperation, she tapped into a power that even she didn't fully understand. It was a volatile power, one that could warp reality itself, the power of chaos magic. Chaos magic isn't just another form of spellcasting or sorcery. It's a force that exists outside of the established laws of the universe. It is raw, unrestrained, and incredibly dangerous, a power that can rewrite the very structure of reality. Wanda's connection to this magic had been hinted at in earlier appearances, but it wasn't until WandaVision that its full extent was revealed. In her grief, Wanda's abilities manifested in ways that were far beyond anything she had ever done before, allowing her to reshape the world around her. She created an entire fabricated reality in the town of Westview, trapping the minds of its inhabitants in an artificial world where Vision, alive once more, lived with her in an idyllic version of suburban life. But the most significant event came when Wanda, after coming to terms with her trauma and understanding her powers, faced the reality of what she had done. In a desperate moment to reclaim what she had lost, Wanda used chaos magic to literally bring Vision back to life. But this was not the same Vision that had once been a part of the Avengers. The Vision she created was an artificial construct of her mind, a vision of the man she had loved. However, it was not the true Vision, at least not in the sense that he had once been. The theory suggests that Wanda's act of bringing Vision back did far more than simply revive him. It permanently altered the very structure of reality. This moment wasn't just a manifestation of Wanda's grief and her will to recreate Vision. It was the unlocking of a new era in the MCU, one where the boundaries of reality itself were much more fluid. Chaos magic doesn't simply warp the world. It creates new possibilities, new rules, and new pathways. By reviving Vision through this form of magic, Wanda unintentionally opened the door to the multiverse. What makes this theory even more intriguing is the understanding that Wanda's use of chaos magic could have long-lasting implications. Chaos magic is a force that distorts reality, and when Wanda used it to resurrect Vision, she was essentially creating a new timeline, a new thread of reality that had never existed before. This is why, in the finale of WandaVision, when the hex that she had created was lifted, everything in Westview was returned to its original state. But Vision, still existing in some form, did not revert back to the lifeless body she had originally seen. This suggests that the Vision she brought back was no longer just a simple figment of her imagination. He was, in some sense, real, a new being forged in the chaos of the magic she wielded. His mind, however, was now left incomplete, seeking its own identity in the form of a new Vision, one that will carry on beyond Wanda's influence. Beyond just resurrecting Vision, this new understanding of Wanda's magic opens up questions about the very nature of reality in the MCU. As the multiverse began to unravel, especially with the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and the rise of Kang, the idea that Wanda's chaos magic created permanent ripples through the multiverse becomes even clearer. Her powers gave birth to a new kind of multiversal instability, one that could have far-reaching effects on the multiverse itself. Wanda, knowingly or unknowingly, became one of the primary catalysts for the expanding fractures in reality that would come to define the next phase of the MCU. This power is not something that can simply be turned off or reversed. Wanda has always been a force of nature, and with her chaotic powers, she now represents the potential to alter the course of the multiverse itself. Chaos magic, in its purest form, is a force that can break, merge, and reshape worlds and timelines. Every time Wanda uses it, even if unintentionally, she contributes to the growing rift that's pushing the MCU into new, dangerous territories. And Vision, the byproduct of this reality-bending power, will be a central figure in this new multiversal war. As Vision seeks to reconcile with his new reality and his existence, the true implications of his creation through chaos magic will unfold, potentially leading him to take on a role that goes far beyond just being a companion to Wanda. Wanda's grief-driven use of chaos magic didn't just bring back a loved one. It set in motion a profound shift in the very fabric of the MCU. It's a reminder of just how much her powers have the potential to shape not only her own fate, but the entire multiversal landscape. As Wanda and Vision navigate the complexities of this new reality, one thing is certain. The consequences of chaos magic will continue to ripple across the multiverse, creating new possibilities, new dangers, and a reality that no longer adheres to the rules we once knew. The Ancient One's warning, how the Avengers time heist doomed the multiverse. In Avengers Endgame, The Avengers embark on a daring mission to reverse the catastrophic effects of Thanos' snap, traveling back in time to collect the Infinity Stones before Thanos could use them to erase half of all life in the universe. They call it the Time Heist, a plan so risky and intricate that only their combined efforts and the power of time travel could possibly pull it off. But as they navigate the timeline, they unknowingly unleash forces far beyond their control, setting into motion events that would doom the very fabric of the multiverse itself. What the Avengers failed to grasp was a crucial warning made by the Ancient One, the former Sorcerer Supreme, which held the key to understanding how their interference would ultimately fracture reality. When the Avengers first traveled to 2012 to retrieve the Mind Stone from the Battle of New York, they encounter the Ancient One in 2012, when she was still guarding the Sanctum Sanctorum in a time before Doctor Strange became the Sorcerer Supreme. In this tense encounter, she warns Bruce Banner, who is trying to convince her to give him the Time Stone, about the consequences of tampering with the past. She tells him that when you take a stone from the past, it doesn't just disappear, it creates a branching timeline. This new timeline would split off from the original, destabilizing reality. Essentially, this meddling would create alternate realities, each with its own set of consequences, some of which could spiral out of control. The multiverse, which had been relatively stable up until that point, would start to unravel. While the Avengers understood the importance of returning the stones to their proper time to avoid catastrophic outcomes, they overlooked the full gravity of what the Ancient One had warned them about. By stealing the stones, they had created diverging timelines, each one a potential threat to the stability of the multiverse. The Avengers' actions set off a chain reaction, one that would cause a cascade of new timelines, each with its own potential to grow and destabilize the multiverse. What the Ancient One was really warning about was not just the threat of these alternate realities becoming chaotic or dangerous, but the fact that the multiverse itself was not designed to handle such disruptions. The delicate balance that existed between these various timelines could only be maintained if nothing interfered with them. The Avengers' decision to take the stones, however, disrupted that balance, causing the timelines to fracture. The stones themselves were powerful anchors to their respective universes, and when removed from their place in time, they created disturbances in the flow of history. The Avengers, in their mission to stop Thanos and undo the snap, inadvertently made things much worse. This was not simply a matter of small, isolated events. The multiverse itself was built on a precarious structure of intertwining timelines, where each decision, no matter how seemingly insignificant, had rippling effects across all of existence. When the Avengers took the stones, they cracked open those timelines, allowing them to multiply and spread like cracks in a glass that could eventually shatter the very foundation of reality. The consequences of this were not immediately clear, but the warning was loud and clear. Time travel was never meant to be tampered with in such a manner. The ramifications of the Avengers' time travel would come to bear as the multiverse began to show signs of instability. The branch timelines that were created during their heist began to grow, develop, and influence the course of history. These were not just alternate versions of events, but entirely new realities that were now running parallel to the original. And some of these new realities would clash with each other, threatening the balance that had once existed. As we would later see in Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the very nature of the multiverse was in jeopardy. With the timelines growing uncontrollably, beings like Kong the Conqueror, who could manipulate time, found their path into the MCU, exploiting the fractures left by the Avengers' interference. In essence, the Avengers' actions in the time heist triggered a multiversal crisis, a situation in which countless alternate realities collided, interacted, and ultimately began to erode the barriers that separated them. By taking the stones, they didn't just alter their own timelines. They opened the floodgates to infinite possibilities, each one more unstable than the last. What was meant to be an effort to correct one disastrous mistake only served to pave the way for a far greater catastrophe: the multiversal collapse. This theory posits that the real cost of the Avengers' victory over Thanos was not simply the loss of lives, but the irreparable damage to the multiverse. The Ancient One understood this from the very beginning, which is why she warned Banner against taking the Time Stone. She knew that any attempt to alter the timeline would have consequences far beyond their comprehension. The damage had already been done, and the consequences would unfold in ways they could never predict. As the multiverse becomes increasingly unstable, new and dangerous realities continue to emerge. Realities where the Avengers' decisions could come back to haunt them in unimaginable ways. With the arrival of new threats like Kong the Conqueror, the incursions that threaten entire universes, and the instability of the multiversal timelines, it becomes clear that the Avengers' time heist was not the solution they thought it was. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous, something that had set the multiverse on a path toward chaos, destruction, and possibly even collapse. The Ancient One's warning, though seemingly minor at the time, was a harbinger of doom. In their attempt to fix one mistake, the Avengers unknowingly sowed the seeds of an even greater crisis. A crisis that would spread throughout the multiverse, changing the MCU forever. The very act of meddling with time, of stealing the stones, triggered a multiversal war, one that would continue to unravel the delicate threads that held reality together. In this light, the Avengers' greatest triumph, the defeat of Thanos, was, in truth, a victory that came at a cost far greater than they could have ever imagined. The multiverse was doomed, and the ripples of their actions would continue to reverberate through the MCU for years to come. Why Peter Parker was really chosen by the Infinity Gauntlet, and what it means for the future. When Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man, found himself in the heart of the battle against Thanos, and was thrust into the center of the most powerful and dangerous object in the universe, the Infinity Gauntlet, it wasn't a random choice. The reason Peter was chosen to wield this godlike power is far deeper than just his proximity to the gauntlet or his status as one of the heroes on the battlefield. There's a hidden reason behind why Peter Parker, a teenager from Queens, was entrusted with the Infinity Gauntlet, and it reveals much about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. To understand why Peter was chosen, we must first look at the nature of the gauntlet itself. The Infinity Gauntlet, once fully powered by all 6 Infinity Stones, gives its wielder the ability to reshape reality itself. The power of the gauntlet is nearly incomprehensible, able to wipe out half of all life in the universe, recreate entire worlds, and manipulate time and space. For someone to wield such power, it would require more than just physical strength or a strategic mind. It would require someone with a unique combination of heart, responsibility, and selflessness. These qualities are what made Peter Parker the perfect candidate. At the heart of Peter Parker's character is his deep sense of responsibility. From the moment he gained his powers, Peter has struggled with the weight of this responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility is the guiding principle of his life. This principle has been central to Peter's growth as a hero, and it is what ultimately makes him stand out among the countless other superheroes in the MCU. Peter has always carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he does so with a level of humility and compassion that sets him apart. When Peter faces a threat, he does not think about his own safety or personal gain. He thinks about how to protect others, often at great personal cost. In Avengers: Infinity War, Peter is thrust into a situation that forces him to put everything on the line. He is part of the battle against Thanos, knowing that the stakes are as high as they can get. As the events of the movie unfold, Peter's role becomes increasingly significant, and in a pivotal moment, he is handed the Infinity Gauntlet. This moment is not just a narrative convenience, it is a deliberate choice by the universe itself. The gauntlet, powered by the stones, does not simply choose anyone to wield its power. It chooses someone who is worthy, someone whose intentions align with the purity of heart and sense of justice that the stones embody. Peter Parker, despite his young age, has already shown time and again that he possesses the kind of selflessness and responsibility required to bear such a heavy burden. But the theory suggests that there's an even deeper, more mysterious reason behind why Peter was chosen. Peter Parker, it turns out, may have been a key figure in the cosmic design of the universe itself. While Thanos may have been driven by a twisted sense of balance, and characters like Doctor Strange and Tony Stark were driven by intellect and strategy, Peter's purity of heart made him the true inheritor of the Gauntlet's power. Unlike many other characters, Peter has always held a sense of wonder and innocence about the world, a childlike belief that things can be fixed and that good can triumph over evil. This purity is what allows him to wield the power of the Infinity Stones without being corrupted by it. But there's more to it than just Peter's personality. Peter's connection to the Infinity Gauntlet may also have cosmic significance. The theory suggests that Peter was chosen by the Gauntlet not just because of his inherent goodness, but because he represents the future of the MCU itself. The Infinity Stones are not just objects of immense power. They are tied to the fabric of the universe. They control time, space, reality, the mind, the soul, and power, fundamental forces that govern existence itself. Peter, as a relatively new hero in the grand scheme of things, is a symbol of what is to come, the new generation of superheroes who will inherit the mantle from the likes of Iron Man, Captain America, and others. Peter represents the future, the potential for a new world where the mistakes of the past can be corrected, and where hope can overcome even the most impossible odds. This connection between Peter and the Infinity Stones points to something even larger, something that will come to the forefront in the future of the MCU. The fact that Peter was able to momentarily wield the Gauntlet means that he may be the key to unlocking the next chapter in the universe's story. It's possible that Peter's unique connection to the Gauntlet will play a pivotal role in the coming multiversal conflicts. The Avengers' battle with Thanos may have been the end of one era, but it could also be the beginning of another, one where Peter Parker's role becomes even more important. In Avengers Endgame, when Tony Stark sacrifices himself to use the Gauntlet, he is the one who ultimately saves the universe. But what if Peter, who was the first to hold the Gauntlet, is meant to continue the legacy? Peter's connection to the Gauntlet could imply that his journey is far from over. The Gauntlet itself may have recognized that Peter would one day be the person capable of wielding its power in the right way, without the same risks of corruption that plagued others. With the multiverse now in play, Peter's future in the MCU could involve confronting not just the legacy of the Avengers, but the very forces of the multiverse itself. The theory also suggests that Peter's ability to wield such immense power, even momentarily, could set the stage for his role in the larger cosmic events that are about to unfold. The Avengers' battle against Thanos was just the beginning. The universe is now teetering on the edge of multiversal chaos, and Peter's connection to the Infinity Gauntlet may mean that he will play a pivotal role in these future battles. Whether he is meant to wield the Gauntlet again, or if his connection to it will open up new opportunities for him to interact with the forces of the multiverse, remains to be seen. But what is clear is that Peter Parker was chosen for a reason. He was not just a hero who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Peter Parker is being positioned as a key figure in the MCU's next chapter, one who will carry the weight of the universe on his shoulders and continue to fight for what is right, no matter the cost. The secret purpose of the Infinity Stones, they were never meant to be destroyed. The Infinity Stones, 6 cosmic artifacts of unimaginable power, are often thought of as tools of destruction and control. These stones, each representing an essential force of the universe, such as time, space, mind, soul, power, and reality, have been wielded by beings of incredible ambition, like Thanos, who sought to reshape the universe through their power. The prevailing narrative has been that the stones, once gathered and wielded, can be used to rewrite the very fabric of existence. But a deeper, more unsettling truth lies beneath the surface. The stones were never meant to be destroyed. They were part of a larger cosmic design, a purpose far beyond what the universe's greatest minds have realized. The true danger of the stones isn't the potential for their destruction. It's the consequences of breaking them apart, unraveling a fundamental part of existence itself. The Infinity Stones are not just powerful objects. They are the embodiment of the fundamental principles that govern the universe. Each stone, time, space, mind, soul, power, and reality, exists not simply as a weapon but as an integral component of the very fabric of reality. The Time Stone manipulates time itself, allowing its wielder to travel through time, manipulate causality, and even resurrect the dead. The Space Stone allows control over space, enabling teleportation across vast distances and bending the boundaries of space. The Mind Stone affects intelligence, consciousness, and thought, enabling the manipulation of minds or the creation of artificial intelligence. The Soul Stone governs the realm of life and death, binding the soul to the body and holding the deepest secrets of existence. The Power Stone amplifies the wielder's physical strength and grants access to boundless energy. Finally, the Reality Stone allows its user to warp reality itself, turning the impossible into the possible. These stones are the foundation upon which the universe is built, and they govern the flow of existence in ways that most beings cannot even comprehend. For millennia, the true purpose of the stones has been obscured. The narrative we are familiar with, the one in which the stones are destroyed to prevent their misuse, does not tell the full story. The stones are not just objects to be hoarded, used, or destroyed. They are essential to maintaining the balance of the universe. Each stone plays a critical role in keeping the delicate equilibrium between all things in check. If one stone is destroyed, the balance begins to tip, and the consequences are catastrophic. When Thanos, in his quest for ultimate power, sought to gather the stones and use them to wipe out half of all life in the universe, he was not only committing an act of destruction, he was tampering with the very structure of existence. But this act of destruction, though horrifying, was only the beginning of a far greater unraveling. The true chaos began when the stones themselves were destroyed, or at least thought to be. The destruction of the stones in Avengers Endgame was, in many ways, the climax of the Avengers' battle against Thanos. After the Avengers successfully gathered the stones from various points in time, they used them to reverse the damage Thanos had caused. But when the stones were used to bring back those who had been lost in the snap, they were destroyed. The decision to destroy them was not only a desperate attempt to prevent anyone from using them again, but also a flawed attempt to stop the cosmic imbalance that Thanos had started. The Avengers believed that by destroying the stones, they were protecting the universe. But in reality, they may have inadvertently done far more damage. The destruction of the stones set in motion a chain reaction, one that began to tear at the fabric of reality itself. Each stone was a unique creation, an artifact of immense power tied to the fundamental forces of the universe. By breaking them apart, the Avengers disrupted the cosmic order. The universe is a delicate structure, built upon the interplay of forces like time, space, and reality. When these forces are altered or destroyed, the results are not simply local or temporary. They are universal and catastrophic. The very balance of existence begins to crumble, and the universe begins to spiral into chaos. What the Avengers did not know, what none of the heroes could have known, is that the Infinity Stones were not merely tools to be used or destroyed. They were part of a larger design, a cosmic system that kept the multiverse in balance. To destroy the stones is to tear apart the very foundation of the multiverse itself. The true purpose of the stones was never to be used for good or evil, but to maintain order in the universe. They are pieces of a greater cosmic clockwork, an essential part of the forces that govern all existence. Without the stones, the multiverse begins to collapse upon itself, and what was once a stable reality becomes a fractured, unstable shell of its former self. This destruction of the stones may have set the stage for the multiverse's collapse. With the stones gone, the fundamental forces they represented, time, space, mind, soul, power, and reality, begin to unravel. Without the stones, there is no longer a cosmic force keeping these principles in check. Time itself begins to break down. Space becomes more fluid, bending in unpredictable ways. The very fabric of reality starts to warp, and new, unknown realities begin to spill into one another. The Mind Stone's influence fades, leaving the minds of the universe more vulnerable to outside manipulation. The Soul Stone, which once bound life and death together, is no longer present to keep the balance between the living and the dead. The Power Stone's absence creates a vacuum of energy, one that could be exploited by those with the strength and will to seize it. The consequences of the destruction of the Infinity Stones are not just felt in the physical world. The multiverse, a vast and ever-expanding collection of realities, is beginning to show signs of strain. The recent incursions between universes, as seen in the fractures of reality in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, may be a direct result of the destruction of the stones. These incursions, where entire universes begin to collide with one another, are not just random events. They are symptoms of a deeper, more fundamental problem within the multiverse. The stones, in their creation and existence, helped regulate the multiverse's balance. With their destruction, the multiverse is beginning to destabilize. Shuri's mysterious experiment. Did Wakanda unlock the key to mutant evolution? Wakanda, a land of secrets, technological marvels, and vast wealth, has long held mysteries far beyond its borders' knowledge. It is a country unlike any other, a place where vibranium flows like lifeblood, powering inventions, innovations, and practices that the rest of the world can only dream of. Among the greatest minds in Wakanda, one name stands above all: Shuri, the brilliant younger sister of T'Challa, the Black Panther. Shuri, known for her genius intellect and contributions to her nation's technological advancements, has developed an array of innovations that have kept Wakanda ahead of the global curve. But beneath her remarkable achievements lies something far more extraordinary, an experiment that may have unlocked the key to a long-forgotten power, a force that could alter the course of history itself: mutant evolution. Shuri, with her boundless intellect, was always curious about the limits of science and biology. She had already made groundbreaking strides in the field of technology, pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence, healing technology, and even advancements in the realm of quantum mechanics. But beneath the surface of her projects, one stands out: a mysterious experiment that her team at the Wakandan Research and Development Facility kept under wraps. This experiment, which was never fully explained to the outside world, could be far more important than anyone ever realized, for it may hold the key to unlocking mutant evolution. The implications of this discovery, if proven true, would be profound, not just for Wakanda but for the entire world. The experiment began innocuously enough, with Shuri attempting to isolate and replicate the biological effects of vibranium on human physiology. Vibranium, the rare and powerful metal that has been integral to Wakanda's rise, has remarkable properties. It can absorb, store, and release energy, and it has an undeniable connection to the fabric of life in Wakanda. The heart-shaped herb, which grants the Black Panther their enhanced abilities, has been imbued with the energy of vibranium for generations. But Shuri wondered if vibranium could have even more profound effects on the human body. Could it alter the very DNA of a person, giving them powers far beyond the normal limits of human strength, agility, and perception? What Shuri did not expect was that her experiment would set off a chain of events that would awaken something deep within the human genome, a connection to the mutant gene that had lain dormant for millennia. The experiment, which involved exposing specially selected test subjects to concentrated vibranium-infused compounds, did not simply enhance their physical abilities. It began to alter their genetic code, unlocking new potentials within their bodies. This is where things took an unexpected turn. Rather than just improving the subject's abilities like enhanced strength, speed, or healing, the vibranium began to interact with their very genetic makeup in a way that mimicked what we know as the mutant gene. Mutations began to surface, abilities that could not be explained through normal scientific means, abilities that were more akin to those possessed by mutants like Wolverine, Storm, or Magneto. Shuri's experiment did not just enhance the test subjects. It created something entirely new. It suggested that vibranium could act as a catalyst for the emergence of the mutant gene, unlocking dormant DNA sequences in individuals who might have otherwise never manifested mutant abilities. This revelation could explain the emergence of mutants in the Marvel Universe in a way that was never before considered. Perhaps mutants weren't born with their abilities as previously thought, but rather had the potential for them, and it was only under certain conditions such as exposure to vibranium, that these powers could be unlocked. If this theory holds, then Wakanda, with its vast store of vibranium, might be the birthplace of a new wave of mutant evolution, one that could have far-reaching consequences. The broader implications of this theory are staggering. If vibranium can trigger mutant evolution, then Wakanda could possess the means to spark the creation of new mutants across the globe, potentially even creating a race of superhumans who could reshape the world order. It also means that mutants could be seen not as an anomaly of nature, but as a latent possibility in every human being, just waiting to be unlocked under the right circumstances. Shuri's experiment could open the door to a new era of genetic manipulation, one where the line between human and mutant is blurred, and the power of evolution can be controlled and enhanced. But if Shuri's experiment truly holds the key to mutant evolution, it raises several questions. First and foremost, what does this mean for the future of mutants in the Marvel Universe? If Wakanda holds the key to unlocking the mutant gene, then they may become the most powerful nation on Earth, with the ability to create or destroy mutants at will. The implications for global politics would be profound. Nations and organizations would scramble to get their hands on vibranium, not just for its technological potential, but for its ability to unlock the power of mutant abilities in any human being. The balance of power would shift dramatically, with Wakanda at the center of it all. There are also more personal questions to consider. If the mutant gene can be unlocked through vibranium, what does this mean for those who already possess mutant abilities? How would they react to the possibility that their powers were not the result of some random genetic mutation, but rather the outcome of a process that could be replicated? Could this lead to a new divide between mutants, those who were born with their powers, and those who were made into mutants through external intervention? Would mutants, long oppressed and feared for their differences, welcome this new reality, or would they see it as a betrayal of their identity? And what of the mutants who had spent their lives trying to control their abilities? How would they feel about the idea that their powers were not unique, but could be unlocked in anyone? The most dangerous consequence of this discovery may be the potential for abuse. If Wakanda's discovery of mutant evolution becomes widely known, forces outside of Wakanda may seek to exploit it for their own gain. The idea of creating an army of superhumans mutants could become a powerful tool for both good and evil. Governments, corporations, and military organizations could seek to use vibranium not just as a resource, but as a way to control or manipulate people, creating armies of enhanced individuals. The missing Avenger, a forgotten hero who was supposed to be in Endgame but was erased from history. There is a strange and unsettling theory that haunts the events surrounding the Avengers' final stand against Thanos. A theory that suggests the existence of a forgotten hero, a member of the Avengers who should have been present during the climactic battle of Avengers. Endgame, but whose presence was mysteriously erased from history. This missing Avenger is an enigma, a figure who, according to the theory, was once an essential part of the Avengers team, only to be written out of the narrative as if they had never existed at all. The question is, why? Why was this hero removed from the timeline, and what does their absence mean for the Marvel Universe? The theory begins with the idea that, in the original course of events, there was an Avenger, someone whose presence was critical to the final battle. This individual was initially involved in the events of Avengers Infinity War and was actively working alongside the team, preparing for the showdown with Thanos. But something happened during the course of the timeline, a shift, a disruption, or perhaps even a deliberate alteration that led to this hero being erased from history entirely. No one remembers them, no one speaks of them, and their contribution to the war against Thanos seems to have been forgotten by all, as if they never played a role in the Avengers saga at all. The details of this missing hero's identity remain a mystery, but the theory suggests that their absence was not a simple oversight. Rather, their erasure was the result of a targeted and deliberate action, possibly the result of interference from the very forces that shape and protect the timeline. In the grand web of time, the Avengers' victory over Thanos required more than just the well-known heroes like Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. It required the involvement of someone whose role was integral but ultimately hidden from the public eye. This hero, whoever they were, was a crucial part of the Avengers' strategy against Thanos, but for reasons that remain unclear, their existence was suppressed. As the theory posits, there could be several reasons why this hero was erased from history. One possibility is that their powers or abilities were too dangerous to be allowed to exist in the timeline. Perhaps this hero had a power that, if revealed, could have shifted the balance of the battle too dramatically. Their abilities may have been so potent that they risked overshadowing the sacrifice and heroism of the more established Avengers. In this scenario, the removal of this hero would not have been an act of malice, but rather a necessary step to preserve the integrity of the Avengers' struggle, ensuring that the victory over Thanos was earned by those who were present in the final battle. Another possibility is that the hero was part of an earlier version of the timeline that was altered during the events of Endgame. Time travel played a pivotal role in the Avengers' efforts to collect the Infinity Stones and undo the damage caused by Thanos. During the time heist, the Avengers traveled to different points in the past, attempting to retrieve the stones before Thanos could use them. It's conceivable that, in one of these timelines, the missing hero was an active participant, someone who helped secure the stones or was involved in critical battles. However, due to the complexities of time travel and the dangers of tampering with the past, the Avengers' actions could have resulted in the erasure of this hero's timeline entirely. Perhaps their role was replaced by a different hero, or their existence was wiped out to prevent a paradox or disruption that could have endangered the multiverse. There are also more sinister theories surrounding this missing Avengers' absence. Some suggest that the hero may have been deliberately removed as a result of a hidden agenda. Perhaps someone in the Avengers' ranks, or even one of their enemies, sought to suppress their role in the final battle. This could be the result of a deep-seated conspiracy, where powerful forces within the Avengers or even external enemies orchestrated the hero's erasure to hide their true power or purpose. If the hero had information or abilities that threatened the established order, their removal from the timeline would be the only way to ensure that the Avengers' victory was not compromised by an unforeseen threat. What's even more intriguing is the possibility that the missing Avenger could have been a hero from the comics, someone who was long established in Marvel lore but who never made it to the big screen. Fans have speculated that characters like Adam Warlock or even someone like Beta Ray Bill could have been part of the original battle but were excluded from the final narrative for various reasons. These characters are often associated with the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe, dealing with issues that the Avengers, in their more earthly incarnations, couldn't always handle. Adam Warlock, in particular, was once closely tied to the Infinity Stones in the comics, and his absence from the final battle raises questions about whether he was originally meant to play a significant role in the Avengers' victory over Thanos. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of this theory is the implication that, while this hero was erased from history, their presence still lingers. In the vast expanse of the multiverse, anything is possible. The idea that this missing Avenger was intentionally removed from the timeline doesn't necessarily mean that they are gone forever. In fact, the very concept of the multiverse in the Marvel Universe suggests that there could be alternate versions of this hero who exist in other realities. It's possible that, in another universe, this forgotten hero was the one to strike the final blow against Thanos or played an even more pivotal role than anyone could have imagined. Perhaps they are still out there, waiting to be rediscovered, or perhaps they will return when the multiverse collapses in on itself in the future. The consequences of this missing Avenger are more than just a mystery to be solved. Their erasure raises questions about the nature of memory, identity, and the very fabric of the Marvel Universe itself. If history can be rewritten, if entire timelines can be altered or erased, what does that say about the stories we've been told? Can we trust what we know to be true, or is there more to the Avengers saga than meets the eye? And what about the other heroes? How many of them are tied to timelines that no longer exist, their memories erased or altered to protect the integrity of the multiverse?